right, we've got news, but more importantly than that, we've got Spider-Man. Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. Catches webs, spins his web, just like flies. That too. We're going to talk so much about Spider-Man that you'd think we were J. Jonah Jameson. The Daily Bugle starts now!
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Yeah, that's right. I love that.
Dramatic.
Yeah, it's,
I love
like
it
it.
so much.
it's so serious.
I was gonna say it's the chorus, like that's or the unity of so many people singing along.
We once had Stanley on a radio show that I worked on, and we played this, and he's like, "You're playing my theme song," which I feel like it is.
Oh, yeah.
He's got radioactive blood. Welcome to Marvel TV Weekly. I'm Christian Bladt, returned, and after the ladies did such a great show last week, I don't think I'll ever be gone again.
Oh, stop.
Because I felt threatened. That's how good that show was. But anyway, you guys did a great job, so thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
And
We
then
missed you.
there was so much that I took so many notes. I had to like comment in the YouTube, which Amy responded to. It was like, "Oh, you said a lot." I did.
Yeah, I was like, I can't go through
Wrote
every
a
single
novella.
point, but great points were brought up.
I tried.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm Christian Bladt. This is Xia Anderson.
Hey guys,
Officially, that's your name.
I'm into it.
Yeah. And Amy Cassandra Martinez.
That is me.
And happy birthday, Kari Lane.
Yay!
And it's good. For those watching on YouTube, we're bookending the panel with Spidey shirts.
Yes.
So that's good.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And we're the two ones in the middle. There.
Yeah.
Flowers.
Well,
yeah.
I thought, like, I was like, oh, I could bring some of my clean extra Spidey shirts, but then I'm like, oh, but they're small, so, the ladies, they're not going to fit
PJ
well.
shirt.
So, yeah. So it's all right. So now we're going to
steal
start a Kickstarter to get you guys Spidey
I
shirts.
like that.
Oh, but you have one.
I could always use more. And
Okay.
it's actually kind of uncomfortable to wear. It's
Okay.
like the neck's too high.
Okay.
Yeah,
So new
I'm
Spidey
with
shirts.
you on that. I can't.
New
It's not
Spidey shirts
made.
for everybody. Kari is in the chat. So,
Yes, we are live in the chat.
we're going to talk a little news up top, but like I said, there's a lot of talk about Spidey. We're going to talk about all of the Spider-Man animated series, the good, the bad, and the
Amazing.
So and the amazing,
The
thank you.
ultimate.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true. The ultimate, the spectacular,
Spectacular.
and the MTV one too, which is a little bit of a divisive topic.
I believe it's actually called the new animated Spider-Man.
That was called
Yes,
the
it
new
is.
animated Spider-Man.
Yes,
yeah.
it is.
Yes. Well, they wanted to call it. We'll get into it, but they called it that because they wanted to differentiate it from the good animated series from the 90s. But anyway, so let's start off with some news. We have. Right after last week's show, I think they announced that Runaways Season 2 is going to drop on December 21st. The whole season, not like they did last year.
Oh, boy.
And there was a little teaser trailer as well. And it's going to drop 4 days before Christmas, so I don't know when they think I'm going to watch it.
I know.
But,
oh wow.
Well, Boxing Day, perhaps, like starting on the 26th, maybe. But it's like I'm going to be shopping, I'm going to be wrapping, and I don't know.
And then
what
there's New Year's after that, and then there's things in
Well,
between that.
I mean, I've got two kids, so like New Year's isn't a thing. But I get for the rest of you, that's probably a problem. Yeah.
That's New Year's marathon. Duh.
Oh,
Yeah.
We're not going anywhere. We're just watching the
That's
Runaways.
right.
Best thing ever.
So
marathon.
yeah, and
call.
I don't remember. Anthony, is this something where? Oh, and in the booth, of course, Tony B. Tony. Is this something we can play without sound or with sound, or what's the rules on trailers? I don't remember. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we can play with sound.
Okay, let's hear a little bit of it, and
Ooh.
then we'll talk about it a little bit more.
Mealtime is
Oh, hey, it's a commercial.
Oh, I
When the
love
commercials
this
are-
commercial.
It is good because who wants to eat their broccoli
potatoes.
when there's French fries?
I mean, potatoes are vegetables.
Hey guys, we know you've been worried since we ran away.
I
we
was
can't tell you
worried.
where we
Oh,
are,
this
but
is
we're
so
safe
cool.
and together.
But
Thank
surviving
God.
out here has not been easy.
We're trying to raise a dinosaur with a self-esteem and a strong moral compass.
If you're receiving this message, please listen. Something big is coming December 21st.
And we need you to let everyone know. Everyone that we trust, that is, Pride, has eyes and ears everywhere. We're in danger. And now that we've told you about it, you're in danger too. Sorry about that.
Oh no.
It's not cool, guys.
Do not forget, December 21st, Runaways.
That's right. Right where we left them at the bus depot. Which that's some shoddy set dressing because it looks like it's a Home Depot and they just put the word bus over the home, but that's all right. So it's very exciting because the show is coming back. The entire second season is coming back much less than a year from season one. You know,
Quick.
so
I'm just glad this teaser kind of makes it seem like right after.
Yeah.
Because someone having unnaturally colored hair, I'm like, Gert, man, you can maintain that purple hair. Damn, girl, what products do you use?
Well, probably dinosaur-based products. if I
Yeah,
were to guess.
right?
So that's exciting though, because one, it's gonna, you're gonna be able to binge it, but then it's gonna be back so much sooner than I thought. So
Woohoo!
what that really means is, Xia, I guess you got to get to watching season 1.
Yes.
And me too.
Oh, that's right, I
haven't
forgot.
seen season
Oh my
one.
goodness.
I forgot you
I'm
came
glad
on
I'm
the
not
show
alone.
after it was
Okay,
over.
that's
Yeah.
what I was wondering because she saw the
I'm glad I'm not alone.
She
Yeah,
saw
I
the
got
raptor. She's
really
like,
confused.
what?
I was like,
Like, I'm
why
just
are
gonna
there
play along.
dinosaurs?
Why are there
Yeah,
dinosaurs?
like Jurassic Park.
We're gonna have
Okay.
fun.
Yeah, this
It's
is
a
fun
good show.
one. It's
a
10
fun show.
episodes too.
It is a slow-ish burn at the beginning, I'll tell you that. Because, again, it's similar to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in terms of it's a superpower show, but you don't get to the superpowers till a little bit in it.
Okay.
But that's something, like, I wish I had kind of known because I'm like, I want the superpowers. Where are they?
The smart thing they did is it was mostly a weekly show, but the first 3 went out on
yes,
the first day,
that
and that
helped.
really helped because if those had been over 3 weeks, it would have been
okay.
infuriating. But like Cloak and Dagger, it's 10 episodes, and as much as we love the Netflix shows, I think we've all said that there are some of those seasons would have been so much better if it was only 10. So this is a strong 10 episode season, and when it ended, I'm like, no, this isn't the time to end. This is the time for more, which is what you want. You don't want finally, it's over. So very exciting for that, and we'll be able to check that out very soon. And who knows, maybe we'll get our friend Ryan Sands to come back on the panel and
he
talk
was so
about it.
nice.
Yeah, he's one of the dads on the show. But,
Yes.
Ooh.
Anyway, so we've got that coming, and much sooner than that, we have Iron Fist Season 2, as we mentioned, on September 7th, and we have a new trailer, a new teaser trailer, where we actually get to see Davos as the Steel Serpent. I almost called him the Silver Serpent, and I knew that was wrong. Which is a character from Iron Fist lore. Also from Kunlun, but did not defeat the dragon, so he is not
He's
the
very
Iron
bitter
Fist.
about
What
it.
was that
However,
date again?
He's
It
not.
is September 7th.
It's really coming
So
up.
that's
So
coming
if
up.
I wanted to read any of that comic, need to blaze through that real quick.
Yeah. Well, but you don't have to, though. I mean,
Okay.
it's like,
Well, I was trying to read some of it, but Cloak and Dagger, I'm going through slowly.
Yeah.
So,
Well, no, I mean, it's good. So if we can... how long is this, Anthony? Does it say?
2 minutes and 20.
Okay, so we're not going to show the whole thing, but let's just get it started. We'll watch, I don't know, about a minute, but we'll start chiming in and when we see. And this is serious, Danny, this part. You know.
Barely sleep when you are home.
And Colleen's obviously worried about it.
How many times a night you light that fist up?
Not enough. That's the
lit.
real answer. Yeah.
I could see him do
How
that
much you're pushing yourself.
a lot.
the peace.
Or practice. Before he could do it and then was out for a while.
And that was his chi never worked in the first season.
Yeah.
So finally he's got his chi and Colleen's on his case.
Ask the Iron Fist.
I'm fighting for what I believe in.
That looked pretty cool.
Yeah. I know.
I like that.
But I'm just
the yellow streak.
And the thing we need is when Davos/Steel Serpent shows up, because that's when we're gonna really get to see the look
I'm
That's
already
what-
feeling this choreography too, though.
that it's better
Yes,
than season
you can
1.
already
yeah,
see
I
it.
think they made a point to showcase it.
Yeah.
We trained together.
So it's all very exciting. Here it is. There's the yellow mask. Finally. That's all we really need. They can skip the slippers. We don't need the slippers.
You know, I saw an article, they were talking about how the yellow mask doesn't transfer onto film, but I disagree.
It looks great here.
I think it
so,
looks great.
Yeah.
Now you'll give me what's mine, brother.
Yeah, this is pretty serious. And I love the red Steel Serpent fist. So we got double the fists.
Davos wanted it.
Fist
that-
against fist.
Does that mean you should two-fist it while you're watching it? Totally
Yeah.
holding 2 drinks?
Yes.
Double
fist.
fisting.
Yes.
Yeah. And just in case you forget, oh yeah, Colleen and Misty.
Oh, that could be the best drinking game. Whenever anyone gets hit with the red fist, you drink one hand. If anyone gets hit with the yellow fist, you drink the other hand.
And-
There you go.
And whenever Danny says that he defeated the dragon in Kunlun, you finish your drink.
You finish it, yeah.
Yeah, so
You're
you'll
gonna be
you'll
really
be blacked out by
hammered.
episode
Yes.
4. Anyway, very excited for Iron Fist season
I
2.
am much more excited for season 2 than I was for season 1.
I think,
Yeah.
Carrie, they heard you, but not necessarily only you, but what you're saying is what a lot of people said. And what Xia mentioned, the choreography. These are all things they know what people's problems were with season 1.
They fixed it. I admire that.
Do you know what? You know what we don't see in any of the trailers? We don't see Ward. We don't see Joy. I believe that they'll probably be in it, but the supporting cast was a pretty big problem.
You see Joy very briefly.
You know what? You're right.
You do.
You just see her very briefly. They're not featured.
No.
Yeah.
And whereas even in the trailer for season 1, they were in it a lot. And they're just like, no, this is about like cool like fighting and iron fisting and all this stuff.
Incan TV says double the fist.
Double the fist. Yeah, exactly.
And with our theme of Spider-Man today, Christian Jackson points out Iron Fist Season 2 comes out the same day as Spider-Man PS4. The game comes out.
Hey.
I hope that that's a game that our friend Michael Shirley will be playing, because his role in the show will be to Skype in and play Marvel. Let us know about the new Marvel video game.
Well,
so hopefully
he doesn't have a PS4.
So that's going to be a problem then. Do you have a PS4, Anthony?
Yeah, I do.
All right, good.
So it's going to be...
you can take that job from him. He's busy in Tennessee anyway. So
Okay.
So anyway, very excited about that, and I think the consensus is, look, I liked season 1, but I'm more excited for season 2. This looks great.
Yes.
And I don't know how I'm going to fit it in that weekend, but I want to just watch it all.
The one thing I didn't like about that trailer, I feel like they showed too much in the trailer.
They show a lot.
They showed so much. I'm like, I feel like I know the entire story.
Well, maybe it just
there's
seems that
more,
way.
yeah.
There's probably a
I'm
lot
hoping.
more, but they really, I don't know. Don't leave anything on the table, because they know that people are a little apprehensive about this character. They're like, let's put our best foot forward. Let's make sure that they see how awesome this season's going to be. So let us know if you are more excited for Iron Fist Season 2, if you're watching in the live chat or the archived YouTube comments after the fact. Not really much to say on the one other item in the news, which is every indication in the past week is that James Gunn will not be coming back for Guardians 3. I feel like they're probably going to use his script, and if his name doesn't appear on it, it's probably because they're going to throw a lot of money at him and they make him use a pseudonym, because it's like they had a finished script. They probably spent a ton of money and it probably works. But I did agree with something that Anthony said last week. I don't think it's going to be disastrous for him to not direct this movie, because I loved the first Guardians and I liked the second one, but there was a pretty sharp decline between the two of them. And
Yeah.
I just feel like, you know what, let's have somebody else do the third one.
Even with Kurt Russell there.
Yeah, I know, it's true. I do love Kurt Russell.
It just didn't really have the emotional gravitas as the first one did, in my opinion.
I don't know.
Yeah. So
I the second one really.
it spoke to you?
Oh,
Was it?
I think both of them.
Was it because of the Dairy Queen product placement? Is that really what got you?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
and
what I thought.
I hate Dairy Queen. I hate it.
No,
I'm
Blizzard.
sorry.
No,
I'm
Blizzard.
sorry to introduce them. This is our last show with Amy. We're so sad. It's gonna be so sad to see you
Why
go.
do you hate dairy? Food poisoning.
Okay.
Every single time I've been
Kind
there.
of legit. No,
That's fair.
no.
That's fair.
I say that's
single
a
time.
very
By
specific
the way,
hatred.
it also wouldn't stop me, but just maybe for a little while.
Well, I
Maybe for a
haven't
little-
been to Burger King in about 15 years because of food poisoning, so I get it.
But if they would
yeah.
like to sponsor the show, Xia will go there. We'll all go there. We'll have a meal after every show.
A Whopper and a Dairy Queen.
Speaking of product placement and sharing some news with people,
Yes. Well, hey, AfterBuzzers. Our network produces after shows for nearly all of your favorite TV shows. From dramas, reality TV, sci-fi, and more, there is no network that works harder to serve television fans like you. But we do need your help. We're asking that you please subscribe to one or more of our YouTube channels. By subscribing to our channel, YouTube will suggest content that's tailor-made for you, and you'll help us continue to grow. And if you're worried about pesky notifications, none of us likes those. Don't be worried, because they're totally optional. So all you need to do is hit that subscribe button for now, do it right now. Right now.
she's waiting.
Just wait.
We're all waiting.
Right now for this channel, and check out our other AfterBuzz YouTube channels as well. Let us know you did so in the comments down below, and we'll thank you out on air. For now, thanks for being the best fans and for helping us be the ESPN of TV talk.
Thank you, Amy.
Well, thank
You
you.
had mentioned what are people saying for Iron Fist. Ghost8386 in the chat said, I enjoyed Iron Fist Season 1 and I am hyped for Iron Fist Season 2.
All right.
Christian Jackson says, same, referring back to them, but still hoping Season 2 is better than 1.
Definitely agree.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
having less of
fair.
Ward and Joy and all that'll help. That was definitely my problem. More Colleen, which it seems like we're going to get.
And Misty.
And Misty, too.
We're
So
getting Colleen and Misty. I'm so excited for the team up.
very excited about all that. And we have a few more weeks to get all hyped up for Iron Fist and binge it. But so our main overall topic for this week is indeed the amazing, spectacular Spider-Man. And we are going to talk about him because right now, the only first-run Marvel series of any kind that's on with new episodes is Marvel's Spider-Man, which I like to think of as Disney's Marvel's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It's on Disney XD, and it's very kid-friendly, but not my kid who's 3. So it's like, because I was watching it, I'm like, I can't watch this with him. It's a little, the stakes are too high. There's people who might die, and I'm just like, I don't need any of these conversations.
Too dark.
Yeah, but, and it's very kid-friendly. But what I do like about that show is some of the guest appearances, like Kamal Khan, if I said her name right, that Ms. Marvel showed up in an episode, and some great villains and stuff like that. So,
I saw that episode.
yeah, I think it's great to see some of the villains. Like there's a fairly obscure character named Spot who shows up in a 4-part episode that's called Here Come the Supervillains or something. And anyway, so the show's kind of fun. It's very light. And I have a lot of problems with some of the continuity things, like Spider-Man and Peter Parker and Miles Morales are both Spider-Man on the show, which I do have like a fundamental problem with. And Anthony, I think I had this conversation with you. When I started watching it, Miles was on, but I didn't know he was Spider-Man yet because I started in season 2, and I'm like, is he Spider-Man? Is he a Spider-Man?
Yeah.
And then there he is sometimes, and I'm like, all right, so this would help if I'd watched the first season, I suppose.
Yeah,
Well, same.
I did. I was able to watch that episode where he becomes a Spider-Man and he's like really reckless, and then Peter's like, "No, I need to teach you how to do this." And he's like, "No, I want to go beat up our bully because we need to teach him a lesson." And so it was like Spidey teaching him all about like with great power comes great responsibility and all that jive.
With season 2, episode 6, both he and Spider-Man are fighting
Yes,
Venom,
they both fight Venom. Yeah,
which it was so trippy to see.
yeah, it was cool. It was cool to see Venom as well.
Yeah.
I thought that. I mean, he was in the '90s animated series, but yeah. So they have a lot of good characters in here, and they have the Avengers show up because it's animated, and you don't have to worry about the rights that they do with movies. So that's actually now Spider-Man can hang out with the Avengers, but that doesn't mean you couldn't even see the X-Men maybe. But anyway, so we're gonna go chronologically, even though we just talked about the new one. We're gonna go back and we're gonna chronologically talk about all of the different Spider-Man animated series, and then we're each going to pick a favorite. So when someone's favorite comes up, we will talk about it. So we're going to start with the 1969 series, just called Spider-Man, which, as it turns out, is Amy Cassandra Martinez's your favorite, which is fascinating.
Yeah, and it was actually funny that you said first because, yes, that was the first introduction I had to any kind of animated Spider-Man.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, it is for me because when I was really little, the Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends wasn't even on yet. This was always in reruns, and I would see it in the mornings, just as a kid. So this was the first thing that I saw. But so you saw this one.
And
That's interesting.
When I say the first one, I mean in this last week.
Oh,
like,
okay.
ever.
Oh, so you've
never seen any animated shows. Oh, okay.
Okay, that makes sense.
That makes sense.
I was like, where did you see this
Yeah,
and how?
that's what
Because I'd never seen it.
Yeah, because it was on, it was just on like broadcast TV as a rerun, just in the morning, and I would see it. And there weren't that many episodes. There were 3 seasons. And the interesting thing is, from season 2 onward, it was animated by Ralph Bakshi, who is very well known for making Fritz the Cat. And then there was a movie that mixed animation and live action called Cool World.
I was going to say Toon World. That's right.
Yeah, Cool World.
That's a good one.
And that's Ralph Bakshi's animation in it. Yeah. So, and he did this fairly subversive version of Mighty Mouse in the late 80s as well. So but it doesn't look like his style, sorry. But and it's very rudimentary. It's very simple animation. It's very cheap. It actually talks about, on the wiki for the series, it talks about that they would reuse background animation and characters, and they actually there was apparently a show called Rocket Robin Hood, which sounds, of course, amazing.
Never heard
but
of that.
Me either. But they reused all the background animation, some characters, and even a storyline for an episode of that Spider-Man. What I didn't like about it when I saw it, because I remember, Kari always talks about taking, comic books out of the library. There would be like VHS tapes of multiple episodes at my library, and I'd bring them home, and they weren't super enough. They were like these villains that weren't real villains from the comics, even like from the 5 years that existed at that point. And I was like, well, and there are episodes with like the Green Goblin and stuff, but there's a lot of episodes that don't have the real villains. So I'm like, well, where's like who, where's the Rhino? Where's Sandman? Where's all these guys? So I felt like the show was a little, I don't know, it was just a little too simple, and they kind of missed the opportunity. It was just a lot of green villains that weren't the Green Goblin. But Amy, what did you like about the show when you saw it?
Well, the animation's just like so old school.
It's very old school, yeah.
And it's so cool to me that that's like the first Spider-Man, like animated Spider-Man to be shown on screen. So that whole feel for me made it my favorite one, because it's like started from there, now we're here.
Yeah.
And it's so cool. Also, I mean, the music is just like super 60s.
That was my favorite.
I mean, that Spider-Man theme song is amazing.
It was awesome.
I'm stunned that, Xia, you'd never heard that song.
I've never heard
at any
it.
point.
Wow.
I was so annoying days after watching that. I was just walking around the house singing that song. My fiance was like, oh my God, shut up.
I feel that one's classic. Like, even if you didn't watch it,
Yeah.
it's still
Yeah.
played somewhere.
I just missed it.
That was one of the first short videos that I would let my son, who's 3 now, I would let him watch. We would watch like the 60-second opening of that, and he loved that song. And I was telling Xia about he used to have these Spider-Man pajamas where he had the webs under his arm.
That's so
like
cute.
fanny pajamas. And so he would like run out holding my phone to the theme song to like a big room full of relatives. It was very adorable.
Aww.
So, but the funny thing is, like, I played that song not that long ago, putting together notes and stuff. And what he remembered is he said to me, it's like, we listened to that on the computer. I'm like, that's right. Because I used to sit him on my lap and we look at the computer. Now it's like the iPad, the phones and stuff. But we used to sit at this very laptop and we'd watch it. So it's a great song, and that's the big takeaway from that series, is how great that song is.
Yeah.
There are a couple of other versions of that song that maybe we'll use in the weeks ahead whenever we talk about Spider-Man. There's a cover that the Ramones did, and there's also a Michael Bublé version, which is fun, but the Ramones version is way better. But it's from, I think, Spider-Man 2, the one with Doc Ock. Anyway, so
The best one.
What's that? The best one, yeah. The best Spider-Man movie that was made. One of the best superhero movies that was made. So anyway, that was the first series.
You heard that, Amy?
No,
sure you heard
sorry.
that.
Thank you
You're
so much
breaking
for
up.
everybody
You're breaking up.
commenting on the last video and Amy's opinions on it.
Yeah, no, that's great. I love it when you guys share your opinions in the comments down below.
I do think that people should give a fair shake to the Andrew Garfield movies.
Yes.
Especially just to watch Peter and
Tony.
Gwen. I just like Peter and Gwen Stacy. But anyway, so
I like those ones. I like those movies.
the next Spider-Man series that they did was just called Spider-Man. It was in 1981, and it was on NBC Saturday mornings, and it was paired up with a Hulk syndicated, not syndicated, but it was paired up with a Hulk cartoon, and it was okay. It had some familiar faces like the Green Goblin and stuff, but after a year they were like, no, this doesn't quite work, so it morphed into Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, which is my choice for my favorite Spider-Man series. Not because it's the best, but because that was the one that I just really loved, and that really had a lot to do with my love for superheroes, but specifically my love for Spider-Man. I would say Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends and the Super Friends are the two reasons that I liked. And the Super Friends is awful, but it had basically the Justice League on it. And so Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends and all the guest stars, that was a very important show to me. The 90s Spider-Man animated series is way better. It's like that's the best, but my favorite is Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. And there's a couple of great episodes that I've mentioned before on here, which include include 7 little superheroes that have 6 guest stars or 4 guest stars, and there's an episode with the X-Men as well. So so those are kind of fun. There's an episode with Shield, not the Agents of Shield cast that we love, but Nick Fury. Nick Fury, who looks more like David Hasselhoff than.
That one.
So that is I don't know. That was a fun show, and I just really liked it as a kid, and it reran for a long time, just like the '60s Spider-Man did. I mean, there wasn't another Spider-Man show for almost 15 years after that '60s one because it just kept running. They would just rerun it all the time. So it's like, well, what do we need more Spider-Man for? And eventually they were like, well, maybe because we can animate better now. So that brings us to the 1994 Spider-Man, also known as Spider-Man the Animated Series. This is a favorite of 2 people here. There it is.
Okay.
This is a favorite of 2 people on the panel. The other 2 whose favorites haven't gone. And to me, I will say it is the best. It is definitely the best series. So it's just so well done, and it was really true to the spirit of Spider-Man, and they used a lot of storylines, much like the X-Men animated series from the same time period, really was inspired by the comics, and they kind of followed the blueprint pretty closely. A lot of kids' superhero stories would be like, oh yeah, we're not going to do anything that like what worked in the comics. We're going to dumb it down because kids are stupid. And in the 90s, you started like giving kids a little bit more credit with, obviously different universe, but the Batman and Superman animated series from DC were both great as well, all at the same time period in the early 90s. But I wanted to let Xia and Kari talk about why this one is their favorite. Kari? Because since you're the birthday girl, you go first.
Oh, thank you. Well, also, I did want to say Incan TV agrees with you, saying Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends was their favorite as well.
Oh, little footnote to that, by the way. The character Firestar was created for Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends.
Oh.
And then later was introduced in Marvel Comics because she had been so popular. It took years, but she first showed up in Uncanny X-Men 193. Now, there is another instance of a character from an animated series being so popular that they were then introduced in the comics and became canon. And does anybody have an idea who it is? Anyone in the class? It's a show that I just mentioned.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
No.
Is it the X-Men animated
No.
series?
Harley Quinn.
Harley Quinn.
First showed up in Batman the Animated Series and was such a popular character. They started putting her in comics and in movies.
Really?
So, yeah.
I was going to say
Very
Batman
cool.
Beyond was my favorite Batman. One of my
That
favorite
one was good
Batmans.
too. No, I did like that. But anyway.
I mean, the regular Batman was good too.
So,
Anyways, back to Marvel.
back to you and why Spider-Man's your favorite.
I think the 90s cartoon, which most 90s cartoon was kind of the golden age of cartoons, because by then the art style was just so much better. Because the older cartoons could have maybe had good plot and everything, but I wanted to be a cartoon artist when I was a kid, so I really like the visual aesthetic of shows. I still do. So I'm like, it's not very clean. Like, the animation itself is very choppy. So by the 90s, it's smooth animation. The quality is really good. Though, watching as a child, I pretty much thought Spider-Man was in college, so he's like in high school. Because the way they looked, I'm like, yeah, they're totally in college,
Yeah,
right?
they're very, even in the 60s and the 80s version, they're very like big
Very
and
muscular.
giant,
well
really.
dressed.
Yes.
And yeah, I thought that one was just very fun. Great introduction to a lot of characters. They did really good stories, and it definitely has stuck with me. That was one that I enjoyed watching, so I'd say that one's the best one.
Yeah, and they did a really good job.
And they didn't really dumb it down.
No, they didn't.
They didn't,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
they
I like
did, multi-episode storylines just like the X-Men did, which you didn't really get a lot from, especially Saturday morning cartoons. You really didn't see it, and both Spider-Man and X-Men would do that, and sometimes it's like 4 or 5
And
parts.
the X-Men cartoon was so great
Yeah.
too. And
Yes.
because in comparison, which we'll get to it later, but the Disney XD one, it made me kind of want to rewatch the 90s one.
Yeah.
Because I want to know, did I think it was child? Because I felt that the Disney one's a little bit too kiddie for me.
Yeah.
But I'm curious how the 90s one is now.
I watched a couple, and
Is it
it's
cheesy-ish?
no. I mean, it is, but not like
Not the same,
No,
yeah.
not at all.
Well, I think the 90s one probably catered more to the, like, 12 to 14 range.
Yeah, I would say
Yeah.
that's about
And
right.
the Disney XD is a little more the 9 to 10.
yeah, I
Also,
agree.
real quick,
Yeah.
Zia, since
Yes.
you recently saw, I wasn't able to watch these. I wasn't able to watch it recently, but someone pointed out to me that like these are that show is for like someone who has ADHD because of how fast the pacing is. Like, did you notice that?
Maybe
which
that's
show?
the,
maybe
the,
that's
the
why.
90s Spider-Man?
The 90s Spider-Man show is super fast-paced.
Maybe that's why I like it.
Quick. It goes really quick. If you guys haven't
maybe.
noticed that before.
Yeah.
It goes
No.
like, oh man, I gotta stop this villain. And it goes cuts to a different
Yeah.
scene. It's just like constant motion and it's super fast.
Yeah.
So
You get actual action in it.
and so are those some of the high points for you with that series?
Oh
Is
yeah,
it,
absolutely. The art style was a big thing for me.
Yeah.
Obviously, the storylines were great. You get awesome villains. The voice acting feels more natural and less acted. Like it's Firestar. It finally feels normal.
Yeah.
Like it just feels like they're normal people,
Conversation.
conversational. Yeah.
And I'm sorry to check.
No,
the,
yeah, they're
the
good.
Disney one too. It feels it's a little bit of that overacting for
Right.
kids, just a little bit, not horrible. But this one, yeah, the 90s just
felt
feels
very
like
natural.
normal talking.
Yeah. And I like the little jokes that Peter gets.
Yeah.
It's very much you see Peter's personality in it, and so he gets to throw in his little jokes here and there.
Yes.
They're a little bit cheesy, but I love them because it's him. And also, that's the first one that I saw, so it was again my Saturday mornings growing up was
Yeah.
that. So it's nostalgia as well, but I still think
Yes.
that's the best one.
But Amy, have you seen much of that one? Because you're only just now starting to watch the animated shows. Or...
I haven't seen that one.
Okay.
I saw another one that we'll
Okay.
get to.
But yeah, I'd say that's the best for sure, the gold standard. And if there were ever a show quite like this again, that'd be perfect.
I agree.
I feel like this will be on Disney streaming service, just like the X-Men animated series will. I think probably all of these will be on Disney streaming service, which would be great.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
So.
can pay for some of them now on Amazon Prime.
Yes, by the way, I almost did.
I did.
And then I stopped myself because I'm like, I'm not going to have time to watch the whole season of one of these. But so I watched something for free on YouTube.
Well, we're about to get to it, but where'd it go? Orlando Williams in the chat says it's all about the Spider-Man MTV series, as it was
Right.
aimed more towards teens and adults.
We'll talk about that in a minute because in
Yes.
between Spider-Man and that is Spider-Man Unlimited, which is essentially considered to be the 6th season of the original Spider-Man, but it's a completely different concept, and it is not good.
That one
Yeah, I
kind
was
of
about
dumbed
to
the
say.
art down, right?
Yeah.
The
They
art doesn't.
simplified it.
Eyes were literally just 2 lines with
So
dots in the middle. I
the
hated
style
that.
is cheaper, and just the whole concept it's
It only
just
lasted
bad.
a season.
Yeah,
13
and he's
episodes.
transported to like a counter Earth, and
Ooh,
you know,
there's no
and
reason for it.
yeah, there's no reason for any of that.
Yeah.
and I didn't like. I watched the first one, and I was just like, nah, I'm not in. I didn't even
Yeah.
remember that series existing, in all honesty, and I was just like, I'm not feeling this one.
The colors were very bright,
Yeah.
but not in a good way.
Yeah, and
odd.
High contrast.
yeah, it just didn't work. Let's put it that way.
Agreed.
I'm just gonna go right now and say this is the worst one. Is Spider-Man Unlimited out of all of them?
I did like his costume though.
Yeah,
That's about it.
that's true.
Ghost
Yeah.
8386 agrees with us that the favorite Spider-Man was the 94 TV one.
Nice.
So then we have Spider-Man, the new animated series from 2003, which they call it.
This
And-
one's fresh in my mind.
yeah. So this is the one that's for MTV, and the one that I watched, I don't know if it's the first one, but Spider-Man encounters someone who is basically stealing from someone's house their MTV Movie Award, which I thought was just kind of a funny nod to the
funny.
fact that
That's
something.
funny.
Yeah, I thought that was a. So the most interesting thing about this series is that Neil Patrick Harris is the voice of Peter and Spider-Man. I really like him as Spider-Man. He was really funny. He has the right tone because Neil Patrick Harris is very funny.
Yeah.
Is Peter is just okay, but the him as Spider-Man was really funny. I liked the way he was interacting. It tries to be a little racy. Like Spider-Man says "damn it" at one point. It's a little sexed up. In all honesty, they're in college. Peter and MJ and Harry Osborn, voiced by Ian Ziering, who some people know from 90210, but more people know in this day and age from Sharknado. So that,
boy.
yeah, that's Ian Ziering as Harry Osborn. But in any case, this is the series that I almost bought all 13 of them, and I'm like, when am I going to watch all 13 of these? But I kind of want to see them because I know that there are episodes with the Kingpin, and the Kingpin is voiced by Michael Clark Duncan,
Yeah.
who was the Kingpin in the
I
Daredevil
saw
movie.
one of those
Yeah.
episodes.
So I'm kind of interested in that. I think this is an interesting attempt to try and do something different. It only lasted one season because I think MTV Spider-Man animated series, I don't think it was a marriage that made sense.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts? We were talking before, Xia. What did you think about this one?
Personally, I was not a big fan. That style made me feel like I was watching The Sims that they modded to make into Spider-Man. So that's what I felt like when I was watching it, and I couldn't get past that. I hated MJ with the short hair.
Yeah, I didn't. I never
I was
liked
not
that,
into
yeah.
that.
New Disney, I don't like
The
Black cat with the short hair.
Yeah, I'm not down with that
Why?
either. Yeah.
Why?
It's not a cute cut.
No.
It's true.
Not cute short hair.
Yeah.
So that was kind of hard for me. The story, I also agree, I like Neil Patrick Harris. I couldn't hear it at first. I couldn't hear that it was him. And then as the episode that I was watching went on, I was like, okay, I hear it now. But I thought that he did a great job with that. But as far as the story goes, it's not bad. Like
No, but the
story's
criticism
okay.
is that they didn't use a lot of the real Spidey villains. They created similar villains, and so that has me not in quite as much of a rush. But I do like him as Spidey, so I'd like to see these, and I do want to see more. I love the Kingpin, which might be something we talk about in a couple of minutes. So let's move to 2008's Spectacular Spider-Man, which right there is Anthony's favorite.
Really?
And the reason why
it's not my favorite, but I just think
you really like this one, though.
I really like this
and
one.
One of
yeah.
the reasons why this one works is they tried to really stick to the very beginning of Spider-Man. There was the run that Stan Lee and Steve Ditko, and then later John Romita had in The Amazing Spider-Man. And that was the original concept for the 2003 Spider-Man, but then, it went to MTV and they abandoned that concept. So it was good to stick pretty close to the stories, but then there's also the Michael Bendis, Mark Bagley Ultimate Spider-Man. So these are sort of all paired together. And there were 2 seasons, so there's 26 episodes. But this is one of those things that happens with when rights change and all this stuff, and Disney getting involved. The other 2 that we'll talk about quickly are also Disney series. But Anthony, this isn't necessarily your favorite, but what is it about this series that stands out? Because I know you've talked about this a couple times.
You said it only had 2 seasons?
It says right here that there were 2 seasons, each containing 13 episodes, so that's 26 episodes.
No, there's like about 4 seasons, 4 or 5 seasons, I believe. But yeah, it's kind of like it's like take all the best bits of the 90s original animated series and like trim all the fat, update all the animation, and that's what you get in Spectacular Spider-Man. Like, it has all the greatest arcs that he goes through, starting from the beginning when he turns into Spider-Man until like the Sinister Six is like probably like the last season and that's like the main focus of it. And it was I just remember it being so good because of how like how they respected the character and like how they went through the arcs. Like, I believe they were paired in 2. I believe like they were.
Yeah.
Like,
By the way, are you sure you're not thinking of Ultimate Spider-Man? Because that was 4 seasons. That's from 2012, and that was for Disney XD.
Ultimate Spider-Man, I liked much, much better than Spectacular Spider-Man.
Yeah, Spectacular Spider-Man, that's the other one I saw. The animation bothered.
Yeah.
The eyes.
I hated it. The eyes.
Oh, no.
Yes.
This might be the one, because I think this one was for, I don't actually know where it aired. Was it
Spectacular?
CW or something?
Okay, it might have been just 2 seasons as well. But I remember that was just like best 2 seasons I ever seen.
Okay.
I don't know. I just remember it reviewing it as a kid. I was like, this is amazing. Like, this is like, because I have seen like the previous Spider-Mans too, and I was like, this is probably my second favorite. But yeah, that's even better because it's as shorter and just watch it and it's pretty damn good.
I do want to see these, and I'm kind of holding out hope by not buying these seasons. I'm like, well, let's see what's on the Disney app because the new Disney streaming service.
Yeah, I believe
because if all of these things are on there, I will definitely watch all of them, and I will scour these episodes to find ones I can watch with my son when he's finally old enough.
It aired on the CW.
Okay, yeah, that's what I said.
Saturday,
I thought it was that one. Yeah.
Okay.
So let's get up to the modern times. Well, Ultimate Spider-Man was also for Disney XD, and this is interesting because it's a little bit sillier. It's very jokey, and he definitely breaks the third wall.
He talks to the
Fourth
camera.
wall.
Yes.
Fourth.
I said
he does.
third and fourth wall. Really. He breaks all the walls because he can stick to them. Yeah, the fourth wall. But this one used to be on Netflix, and so I actually watched a bunch of them, I don't know, like a year or two ago. And, there's episodes with Guardians of the Galaxy. There's a lot of great guest stars. And
cool. I watched that one.
You were talking, and you were talking about one with Iron Fist? Or
with the end of that one, when they come back, Iron Fist and Power Man are there at the end.
Which is great.
I also really, really love how they put comic book panels into the episode.
Yeah,
it's really
that style
awesome.
was really. The style for this one was good. I liked this one a lot.
Definitely
And
my second favorite.
It is actually the longest running Marvel cartoon. There were 104 episodes.
Wow,
so I think that has
explains
something
a
to
lot.
do with why they ended it. And I think that they were just like, look, Disney's a corporation. They're like, yeah, this one's good. Let's go ahead and young it down a little bit so we can have more of our core audience actually watching this. Something that pairs up well with DuckTales, which my son does watch.
Wait.
Yes.
See,
Perfect.
DuckTales I didn't feel was dumbed down, though.
The new DuckTales?
So either. I don't know about the
The new
new one.
DuckTales
don't know
isn't
the
dumbed
new
down.
one. Okay.
No, David
The
Tennant's
old
Uncle
one's
Scrooge.
not.
Yeah. So I'm
David
just saying
Tennant.
it might be worth checking out. But
Yeah.
anyway, I like it. It's fun. What were you gonna say, Anthony?
I just wanted the problem I had with Ultimate Spider-Man was just like the stupid cutaways for the jokes.
Yeah,
That
it was like
really-
Family Guy.
Yeah, that really annoyed the crap out of me.
I liked that.
I hated that so much.
The first time I saw that, I'm like, oh, is this episode trying to be like Family Guy? And then you're like, oh no, they're all like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I guess, look, they were having fun. What do you want? But I think what this has in common, Ultimate Spider-Man and the current Marvel Spider-Man, is just getting so many characters from the Marvel Universe in there, and that's fun to watch and see.
Yeah, if you haven't seen the episode with the Guardians of the Galaxy, watch it just for Groot.
That's true.
Just for Groot.
That was the
It's
first one I
so
watched.
perfect.
Because I looked, I'm like, wow, there's a lot of seasons of this. I'm like, oh, Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, Groot.
Well, and that's why, because you sent it out and you're like, there's fun ones, Guardians of the Galaxy. And I was like, oh, cool,
So
that one.
Where did you see it now? Did you pay for it on
I paid
Amazon?
for it on
Okay.
Amazon. Yeah, I did.
I was trying to catch you for streaming it illegally or
Nope.
something. No.
I pay for my things, guys, all of them.
Got to pay for everything. Anyway, so we can talk a little bit more about the current Spider-Man in the next couple weeks because it will be the only show. But I don't know. It's very young. I have some fundamental problems with the concept of the show, like I was saying. But I enjoy watching it because I like to see all the guests. Because we're almost out of time, we need to get to our favorite Spider-Man villains, and fortunately, there's a lot of common ground amongst all of us.
I noticed that. We all have similar number and similar order and everything.
Yeah.
Except mine.
Yeah, no, it's good. I'm glad.
Then
I'm glad
I saw
yours was
all
different.
of yours, and I'm like, wait, what about so-and-so?
And you mentioned some good
Good
ones.
call.
Yeah.
Let's see if I have this right. Yeah. So Amy, Xia, and myself all have at number 3 Dr. Octopus, who is in Spider-Man 2 and is one of the reasons why I think that movie is so good.
Yeah.
Because first of all, Alfred Molina was great, but also he's a fully realized Spider-Man villain. I had some problems with Green Goblin in the first one. It didn't translate too well, especially with the crazy armor. But anyway, that's just me. I don't know. I loved seeing him. And, for those of you watching on YouTube, you're seeing an image from Amazing Spider-Man 131. The reason why he's such a great villain, he went so far as to try and marry Aunt May once upon a time. That's how
Wow.
dastardly he is.
I need to read that one.
Yeah, it's and you can get that on Marvel Unlimited. I'm sure it's out there. But anyway, so that's just sort of what Amy, what is it about Dr. Octopus for you?
He really annoyed me, so I knew he was doing a really good job as a villain.
It's a great call.
It's just
Yes.
so and kind of gross. Like the scene where you see all of the, I guess, tentacles kind of come out is disgusting. I'm like, ew. But yay.
But
Good job. And yeah, he does phenomenal.
Zia, what about Dr. Octopus for you? Doc Ock, as we call him.
It's
in the
really
biz.
how dastardly and evil he is. I feel like you really need that in a villain.
Yeah, well, and when you get caught up on Marvel's Spider-Man, Doc Ock features very heavily into the episodes airing literally right now. So
Very nice.
that's fun to
I love
see
this.
him still there. Yeah, there's just so much great stuff in Spider-Man 2.
That's such a good
Look at this.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah, I know. And this is I don't know. You're making me just want to watch this whole movie
Same.
again.
I was just gonna say that. I want to go back and rewatch
Yeah,
this.
It's been years for me, so
Yeah.
I really need to watch
Time.
this.
It's been a long time.
It's
So I didn't love Kirsten Stewart as
Kirsten Dunst. Kirsten
Sorry.
Stewart
Yeah,
would have been
that
awful.
would've been horrible.
That would have been the
Yeah,
worst
they're
thing
worse.
ever. Yeah.
No, Kirsten Dunst. I mean, she's adorable. She's a pretty lady, and I don't know, just something about her was not.
She
She
didn't
doesn't
feel like
scream
MJ.
MJ.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Like MJ needs a little more sass.
Right.
She needs some more sexuality too. I feel like
Yeah,
she was
and
just like a
confidence.
very
Because she's a model, and I
Yes.
just feel Kirsten's a little bit more.
Well, she's not a model
cute.
yet.
Girl
at
next
this point,
door.
But I
Yeah,
know what you
yeah.
mean. Yeah, she's literally the girl next door.
Yeah.
So,
she
yeah.
needs a little more edge.
I
Yeah,
agree.
But
I
yeah,
didn't hate
and
her.
she gets to feature pretty heavily into this sequence for those watching on YouTube
Yeah.
that we could see with Doc Ock, and this is just so well done. And again, when you get it, the first two movies have, you have Alfred Molina, and
he was a great actor.
yeah,
he's a
no,
great
he's
actor as
great.
well.
Yeah.
and you have Willem Dafoe in the first one. They cast the villains
Oh
really
my
well.
gosh.
Willem Dafoe as Norman Osborn was great. I didn't love the Green Goblin armor, but
That's not his fault.
That's not his fault.
not his
Incan
fault.
TV in the chat agrees Doc Ock was the first villain to beat Spidey.
True.
And then Christian Jackson says, same, I need to rewatch.
So for me, I'm going to do my number 2 and then my number 1, and then we'll circle back, but you'll see why. So my number 2 is someone that a lot of people think of as a Daredevil villain, but I swear to you, he's a great Spider-Man villain, and that is Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin, who was introduced as a Spider-Man villain. He just sort of transitioned to dealing with Daredevil. I believe Amazing Spider-Man number 50. Did not do the research on that. I'm just guessing. But it's funny because I had read a comment recently that he only really turned into a bad guy when he started dealing with Daredevil, but he was a huge thorn in Spidey's life.
Yes.
And from the 60s onward, and there's there's plenty of great instances of that. And that one right there, Anthony. That's
he's in the
just
cartoon.
one.
He was in the 90s
He was in the 90s cartoon.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is just one image that I just came across that I liked, is because he's like, he's stepping on Spider-Man. He's like, I'm going to smash you with this couch.
Mm-hmm.
But you could do a lot worse. But I don't know. I just always thought he was this really cool, imposing, great, crime lord, basically. So I think he's a great character. I really like him as a Spidey villain. But of course, he's fully realized as a Daredevil villain. I'm not trying to count that short, but I think of him as a Spidey villain. So then my number 1 is the same number 2 that Amy and Xia have, which is, in fact, the Green Goblin. And Xia, I will let you go first this time. And also, by the way, Kari's number 3, the Green Goblin.
Woohoo.
So, Xia, I'll let you go first. What is it that you like the most about the Green Goblin?
I love the emotional element that's there because it's Harry Osborn's father.
Yes.
So I love that, and I just love his entire story. We were just talking about Willem Dafoe. I love him in everything. He is fantastic in the movies. And he's also a thorn in Spider-Man's side. He's also the reason that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Gwen Stacy died.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
actually,
yes, okay.
what
Just make it sure.
Anthony was showing while you were talking on YouTube, there's 2 images. There's one which is the cover for Amazing Spider-Man 122. At the end of 121, Gwen Stacy dies, and it's because the Green Goblin throws her off of a bridge. Now, tragically, we've talked about this before, Spider-Man is actually the one who kills her because he shoots his web to try and stop her fall, and he snaps her neck, which makes it, which is so gruesome.
It's terrible, but she would have died if she
would have
hit
died anyway.
also, so it's
But
kind of like...
there's just this like crack, and you're just
Yeah.
like, did I just read that? But so then 122 starts the next month, and it doesn't go well for the Green Goblin. Spider-Man does not kill him. What happens is that the Green Goblin tries to kill Spider-Man with his little glider, and Spider-Man has spider sense, so he jumps out of the way, and the Green Goblin
kills
does not have
himself.
the kind of reflexes. So that's how he dies. And look, there's a lot of different ways that Norman Osborn comes back. Harry Osborn is the Green Goblin at one point, whatever. But that's the Norman Osborn Green Goblin story arc, and it ends so tragically, there's these 2 issues. Gwen Stacy dies, so his girlfriend dies, and his nemesis die within the space of 2 months. So those
Very
to me are like the
emotional
2
villain.
best Spider-Man stories amongst the best. Anyway, so now we're seeing Kirsten Dunst as MJ and with the Green Goblin. This is very similar to the sequence that is in Amazing Spider-Man 121 where she gets thrown off the bridge, but in Amazing Spider-Man 2 with Gwen Stacy is actually what you see. That She's dressed the same. Like when Emma Stone is dressed like Gwen Stacy in Amazing Spider-Man 121 in that scene when you see her and you're like, oh, this isn't going to go well. But anyway, so I think he was really well done. And you got to remember, we didn't have a lot of good comic book movies at this point. And it was so great to see these characters on the screen. I know that people were a little harsh on Tobey Maguire. I liked him at the time. I think he was a good Peter Parker. I think he was
in
a
the
good
first one.
Yeah, I think he was a good Spider-Man. Definitely not in the third one when he's like emo.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
terrible.
gosh.
The third one is awful. But
Definitely the first and probably the second.
the second one is still very good. Yeah, but anyway, that's my favorite. But anyway, so I think that it was just great to see these characters fully realized on the big screen. A character who was not well realized on the big screen was Xia's number 1, who is
Venom.
who is played by Topher Grace in
Which
Spider-Man
is
3.
so
which
bad.
I like Topher Grace in a lot of things. He was just miscast. That's not his fault.
It's not,
He should
but
not
oof.
have been Venom in this
No.
movie. So hopefully we get a do-over with Venom. But talk about, Xia, why you like Venom so much.
Because he's exactly what a villain should be. He is so freaking creepy, and I love it. Like his teeth, his tongue, how giant he is, that his powers go like, they kind of match. They go sort of hand in hand with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So I love watching them fight. And I'm really, really excited the more I see about this new movie.
The Tom Hardy,
Yes, the more I'm excited about it because I feel like they really captured the essence of Venom and they got him right. And I'm really looking forward
And
to
what we're
that.
seeing right now is not getting Venom right.
No.
Yeah, the character's great. When he was first introduced in the comics, I'm like, this is such a crazy idea. Spider-Man's black costume, which
Yes.
was revealed to be a symbiote and alive and all this, turns into this thing, and you're like, well, this is such a crazy idea. I just burned out on him because they used him way too much in the comics, and like Carnage came up right after that, and I'm like, all right, enough already. But I think it'll be great to see a good version of him in a movie. Good version of a character in a movie. I thought it was interesting, the choice, not Amy's choice, Vulture for her number 1. I thought when I first heard that Vulture was going to be the villain in Spider-Man Homecoming, I'm like, Vulture? But Michael Keaton is so good. He's so great. So talk a little bit
my
about why
gosh.
that was an easy number 1 for you.
I realize that while picking these villains, sometimes all it takes is one really, really, really good scene. I don't think that's the case with Vulture because I think every single one of his scenes is fantastic. But the scene,
This
the
is my
scene
favorite scene in the movie.
in the car when he's honestly like he's not even fully being Vulture. Ah, there it is.
Yeah.
That scene. There's so much freaking tension between him and Peter, and it's just crazy to see that. And
When
I love this
There's just a
part.
moment where when he realizes it and he's like, yeah, good
That's-
old Spider-Man.
and
yet-
that
and Liz is just on her phone, no idea what's going on.
Yep.
I said that's great filmmaking. That's not great superhero movie stuff. No, that's just great. And you had a great actor. Look, not that Tom Holland's not good, but I mean, Michael Keaton's amazing. So that
of them
scene is so
together.
good. And so his scenes as Vulture are great too. But the fact that he's this guy in this scene, that was such a great reveal. That makes that movie so good.
Oh yeah.
And that was an excellent choice for number 1. I was
agree.
I just couldn't go there myself, but I was glad you did.
They made a better version of from comic to film.
Yeah.
Like if you did the one that's in the comic and the cartoon,
he's really old, actually.
and stealing people's youth and like how that
Yeah.
works. I don't think it'd quite translate on a live action
Yeah.
movie. Not the way we've had them so far. So I not on my list, but I liked how they reimagined him, and he was much cooler and creepier, and it worked
Well,
as a real
speaking
life
of
version.
your list, Zia, let's
Yeah.
round this with a fascinating choice who I don't disagree with at all. It's just not someone I thought of. Your number 2 was Morbius. Talk about why you like him.
Now, we were talking about villains, and I was like, well, maybe not like he's the best villain, as in a foe, but I thought he was such an interesting character. And I like the vampire concept being a little bit different. Also, it's a really good long arc in the cartoon. I don't know how he is in the comic, but I just remember liking his storyline within the cartoon series.
Yeah, and for those watching on YouTube, I found a little sequence from the Fox animated series, the 1994 animated series. Just a little showdown between Spidey and Morbius, because I thought it was kind of cool looking,
Yeah, it's a villain you got to actually have conversations with eventually, and he kind of becomes this anti-hero. So it was an interesting development for a villain instead of just, I evil, I destroy.
And didn't we talk about there's a movie being developed of this? I feel like that was something that Anthony, you told us about that, right?
Yeah,
really cool.
Jared Leto's going to be playing Morbius.
Oh, no. Why did you tell me that?
Yeah.
That's too bad. He was good in Dallas Buyers Club, though. So, maybe.
Pull it off.
So it's an interesting. I think he's a more intriguing villain than some of the other ones, where you want to know more about this.
You definitely want to know more
character.
about. And I really like your first choice, your number one choice, Kraven the Hunter, who is a great character who's very underappreciated, and so I was interested that you chose him. So talk a little bit about what you like about Kraven.
Yeah, this made me think about like what villain stood out. And again, this was another one from the cartoon that stood out to me. And now this is a villain that's like, I'm going to kill you. And I think it was one of the few times where you're actually kind of worried for Spider-Man. Like, oh no, this person like wants to destroy you. Not just because some of the other villains are so grandiose. This guy seems to have a little bit more laser focus. And I don't know, just something about him stood out because he's not like the other ones.
Right. Well, I mentioned this just a couple weeks ago, but in the comics, there was this just redefinition of the character for a 6-part series called Craven's Last Hunt, which was amazing. And it ran through all 3 Spider-Man titles at the time. It was written by J.M. DeMatteis, who actually has written episodes of the current Spider-Man series, and drawn by Mike Zeck, who had done Marvel Superhero Secret Wars and the Punisher Limited series. So it's this great series. And speaking of that series, happy birthday to Kari Lane. I got a collection of Craven's Last Hunt because I thought
that is
it's
awesome.
Some would say that it is the best Spider-Man story. I was reading. Yeah, it is a great Spider-Man story. It's from a very interesting time period. It's right before he marries Mary Jane, and that factors into it a little bit. But it's a great story.
Looks so good and creepy on the back there.
Yeah, Mike Zeck is a great artist who couldn't. His style didn't lend itself to, being a monthly artist. He would do a lot of miniseries and things. And then maybe when you're done, you'll let the other girls borrow it, but maybe not. I don't know. Hey, maybe you don't want to share.
Special book.
It's a great story. Anyway,
you.
Real quick.
So yeah,
Can I bring up an honorable mention?
Please do.
I remember this guy. This guy like creeped me out for some reason. This is especially not Kraven actually. I haven't revealed who he is. Sorry. But this man, specifically from the animated series, the '90s series, it was Hydro Man. You guys ever saw that whole arc?
Chat room brought that up.
Yeah, because like Mary Jane dies in a sense and comes back as like a Hydro person, and I was just like, that really creeped me out as a kid. I don't know.
There's characters like Hydro Man and Sandman are two.
Sandman.
Yeah, they're two characters that can be done really well. Just aren't always. So I think are you singing Mr. Sandman? Is that what's happening over there?
Yep,
I just wanted to make sure that you knew that I knew. But no, he's a great call. I did really fast. We're gonna wrap up in a minute, but I also had an honorable mention, and I sent an image for it. I went with the Hobgoblin, who is really just a reimagining of the Green Goblin.
Right.
But right when I was reading comic books was right after he had been introduced, and he basically finds all of Norman Osborn's old technology, and he's like, oh great, I'm just gonna have a different color mask and all that. But he's a really cool character, and he sort of was just an updated version of the Green Goblin. And there's different incarnations of him, a lot of different, some MacGuffins about who really was the Hobgoblin. So, dig up some Hobgoblin stories. There's a few collections. But I just wanted to give him an honorable mention. Anyway, as always, we went a little long, but when we talk about Spider-Man, it's hard to really wrap it up quickly. But we appreciate everybody in the chat. Are there any 1 or 2 final comments that you have in there, Kari, that you want to share?
Billie Jean points out that when Hydro Man comes back in the animated series, I liked and says that, and then revealed that Mary Jane was a clone.
Yeah, don't get me started
Spoilers,
about the
but
clone storylines. I was talking to
Yes.
Xia about that
Just before.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Yeah, but a lot of people were agreeing, and thank you, Tony, for bringing up the Hydra Man, because chat was like, hey, what about that?
Well, please let us know for those watching the archive version. Go ahead and comment on the YouTube post and then also on iTunes. And you can tweet at all of us. Next week, our topic is going to be your favorite X-Men movie. And I have to actually think about it because I thought I had an answer, and then I'm like, well, I did really like this one, though. But anyway, so we will talk about that next week. No spoilers.
Rewatch it.
But we appreciate everybody who joined us in the chat and just watching and listening. So we will see you next Sunday at 10 Pacific. But until then, I'm Christian Bott. You can follow me at ChristianDMZ. And Xia, where do people find you?
You can find me at Xia_land, spelled XIA.
And Amy?
You guys can find me on all social media at Amy Cassandra MTZ.
Kari Lane.
Ooh. Yes, you guys can find me online at Kari D Lane. That's KARIDLANE. And we were talking about Spider-Man, so I want to give a special shout out and thank you to TV Store Online. They have a lot of really cool geeky tees, and if you're into Spider-Man, they got that and all kinds of stuff. So
And
go
if you're
check them
not
out.
into Spider-Man, why are you still watching us? Because we've been talking about it for almost a whole hour.
Yes.
And of course, in the booth at TonyBTony_.
Ayo. Thank you.
And we will, like I said, we'll see you all next Sunday. Until then, Excelsior!
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later!
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.